Thank you for joining us again on this lovely Wednesday evening. We've got a few great talks today, a lot of practical conversations going to be happening tonight, which is, I guess, kind of symbolic of the transfer that we've had towards AI space. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been trying to fiddle around with it myself. It's very complex. And all I want right now is someone to hold my hand and lead me through what the hell you do, how you can have actual utility with it in your day-to-day life. And all that is going to be done with Mark and Chris. So that'd be great to have someone that kind of pushes through the noise today. So we got a few AI demos by those guys. We'll talk about the hackathon, which is powered by Kraken, which is part of Kraken's push to build with their API to create crypto products. And then we have a few little kind of brief talks about the association changes. So I will pass on to Mark and we'll get started. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. For the meeting, to get you to join, I'll bring it back up later.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll sort that out. All right, before I get started, we're here at Stone & Chalk, who have been an amazing partner and friend of the association for quite some time. Could not do what we do without them. So before we get started, I'd like to have a few words from their awesome community manager, Lucinda.
There we go. Thanks.
Oh, sorry, I moved the microphone. We're good. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Lucinda. I'm the essentially venture success manager of Stone & Chalk here at Tech Central. Sorry, Chris. Pick it up. I don't feel very techie right now. I'm just going to leave it like this. Now, put your hands up if you've heard of Stone & Chalk. Well, I'd like to see more hands because you are here at Stone & Chalk. So the fact that you got here and made it here, you know who we are. Essentially, Stone & Chalk exists because we help founders go further faster, and we do that by running innovation hubs like this. So we exist to kind of help founders succeed, grow, scale their startup and the challenges that they're solving as well. Whether that's more at a company level or the more day-to-day challenges that they're facing, whether it's the founder themselves or the tech team, we are here to kind of help facilitate that and connect them with the right capital, expertise, talent. So if you are interested in Stone & Chalk, then jump online and submit an application.
All right, I'm going to go through a few slides. Usually we do these updates. You've got the network and you've got the pizzas. We're not sponsored by Domino's yet, but, got to work that out. That's fine. But we are also going to have some great demos from some guests. If you guys are building stuff, I've spoken to a few people already all of this, who will probably have at the next, events demonstrating cool stuff that they've got. People that have come back to the country, and people that are coming back to these events. I want to say thank you, first of all, for coming to this event. I know that there's a lot of other events on tonight. There's Gen AI Labs for folks in the AI space that's running tonight as well. There is the Oz Builders event. I know that we're clashing. We've been doing ours for the last Wednesday for a couple of years of the month. But we'll see, what we can work out with them, because I'd rather people be able to go to both. And then there's also Block Earner that are doing their High Net Wealth Roadshow somewhere in Martin Place. So a few things on tonight, but hopefully those guys record so you can see those as well and throw it into your AI to go, what were they talking about? Okay, thanks to our sponsors, a couple of names up there, Kraken, Stone & Chalk, Not Centralized, Arturo from Not Centralized is up there at the back. He's coming in. Take 3, Jelly C, that rhymes. That's pretty cool. Block V, another rhyme. Sam with Crypto, if you haven't heard of that, then Foundry Labs and Madison Marcus, the law firms. So we'll thank those guys, and some of them will be up on stage in a bit. First of all, I do these updates before we get into the show. So the last month we had a great event. We had some market updates from Sammy from XC, Letitia from Jelly C as well, and a few others are presenting. Chris and I on the AI side of things, Lydia running the show as well. I want to talk about a few things. So just in terms of updates, hands up here who heard about the $24 billion report from DFCRC and DECA. Oh, don't hit the mic, Mark. A few of you did. Is this Is this low, Chris? Am I okay? It is low. Ah. Huh? Yeah. Can you? Huh? No, that's up all the way. Oh, really? Okay. Don't worry about it then. Oh man. Okay, fine. All right. So there we go. I will do what Chris says, which I don't like doing. But anyway, better. Yeah, okay, cool. So this report was made in conjunction with the Digital Economy Council of Australia, the peak industry body that goes to Parliament, that lobbies ministers to help support the blockchain space. They changed their name from Blockchain Australia to Digital Economy because AI, quantum, all these other things play a part in that space there. So, that is good. And Digital Finance CRC, there's a lot of CRCs out there, Cooperative Research Centre. They did a project with the RBA, Project Acacia, the stablecoin, sorry, the not stablecoin, the central bank digital currency one in 2023. This one is all about how, with a blockchain-driven economy, blockchain rails, and Arturo will speak to that later, what does that mean in terms of business? And this is from their calculations. This is important because ministers need to see these kinds of numbers. They need to see these case studies. Otherwise, they won't advocate for it in Parliament. And if they don't, we won't get friendly terms when it comes to regulation. You can scan that QR code. It's a free report. Your phone's going to get a workout because there's a few QR codes. We will share these slides as well at the end. There's a poll that we're going to take as well that I'll bring up, and you can sign into the Oz DeFi app. And then there's also a hackathon that we'll be talking about in a little bit as well. But yeah, a really interesting report, worth a read. They've got a one-page summary, they've got a 4-page summary, and then they've got the full report. I don't know why there's no 8-page summary, or 16. I would have asked for that, but you can ask the AI to sort that out. So I think it's quite useful there. The DECA, Digital Economy Council of Australia, has an AI working group as well, and I'm lucky enough to have been named the co-chair of that with Rick Ross, not the rapper. Rick Ross, for some people don't know who Rick Ross is, some of you are old enough to work that out, or ask your mum and dad, of EY. So he's in Perth, so East Coast, West Coast, not a battle rap kind of thing or gangster sort of thing. It just happens to look that way, but it's going to be really interesting, the stuff that we'll do, because the conversations that we're having, the research, the projects, and sharing with the wider community, because DECA has already a great tie-in to the political space, there's a lot of influence that we can do there for, how does this tech get built the right way? Anyway, that's important. Chris and I, the lovely Chris up the back there, you can see him on the right in my photo. I think I pose the same way, which is great. It's not AI. It looks like AI if someone poses the same way, right? You can't believe it. I was at Tech House, so great to speak on a panel there about what people are working on in the AI space, its workflows, how people are changing their mindset. I'll chat about that with Lydia a little bit later, the mindset shift when it comes to working with these tools. At the Claude Code event, I actually got to show all the cool things I've built with Claude Code. This, presentation was built with Manus. Manus for slides is such a great tool. Chris put me onto that one. I suggest highly that you do it. If people saw me before this, I was doing a lot of stuff with Manus that would have taken so much longer. So AI for workflows there. But I'll show you some of the things I've done with Claude Code. I've got here, hopefully this QR code works, but it goes to my LinkedIn where you can actually see all the slides that I shared at that Claude Code event. So just things that I've learned along the way, discussed with AI, discussed with Chris, because Chris and I have a show called Experts in the Loop. I just want to reiterate that whether it's for blockchain or whether it's for AI, your expertise is what really makes the difference. It doesn't matter if someone else can build the app. It doesn't matter if someone else is doing a similar kind of thing and can vibe code it up. Your difference will be your experience, your expertise, and your know-how and knowledge, and your trust with customers and people that you work with. And you're bringing that difference into all of these technologies, whether AI or blockchain. And I said that at this, so you can see those slides, and we'll show some stuff. Okay, this is the one I do want you to QR code because there's a community poll in here. So if you scan that QR code or go to DeFi, DEFI.org.au, and I'll bring it up on screen. So in 5, 4, 3, holding up 3. Do I get a 2? Do I get 2? 2 here, 2 here, 1, 1, 1. Okay, defi.org.au. I'm going to bring it up. When you go on there, it's different on the phone, but you go to the menu. There is an event apps section. So defi.org.au. What happened here? I thought I updated this. There we go. There we go. Okay. The magic of television. Polls. So you click on the polls one. There's two polls on the blockchain side of things and the AI side of things. Okay. So let's look at the blockchain one. I'll just run through some of the questions. You can do it on the phone if you haven't got it, defi.org.au. Question: which challenge should DeFi protocols prioritize? You could argue blockchain protocols prioritize in 2026. Is it smart contract auditing, regulatory compliance, scalability, or achieving true decentralization? How should the crypto industry approach AI integration? More on that in a bit about what we're doing as an association. Should they build AI native protocols, proceed cautiously, use AI for fraud detection, or integrate across all? And then finally, in terms of tokenization, which use case excites you? RWA, is it stablecoins? Is it tokenized securities and equity, or data and AI model ownership? So as your answers come through, we'll come back to that at the end. This is the AI one. What's your biggest concern? If you've got any, maybe you have no concerns, and that's fine. Who cares about copyright, right? Well, how should I am joking there. How should AI systems be legally treated going forward? Different frameworks, case by case, etc. And which AI regulation approach makes you most confident? So a few of those ones up there, and then back to the slides. So yeah, if you, just share with everyone. Hang on. All right. So community polls, that's that. We're going to get to guest speakers next, but before I do, I'm just going to go over here and just get Anna on the stuff. 1 second. Hang on, Anna, if I hit share here,
Yes.
I'll give you the code, Osh.
Okey-doke.
626.
1 second.
Okay. Share.zoom.us.
626
Yep. 779
779.
3294, and that will accept you from here. So Anna's going to showcase some cool stuff from what she's been building. Have you? Did that go in?
I think so.
It's not come up yet.
Yeah, I don't want to share my camera.
That's okay.
Join.
Yep. You're free join. Yep.
Not much of a Zoom user.
Okay, all good.
Cool.
Okay, so
Is it okay if I could move your laptop?
Yes, yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so I've been a bit of a lurker of this event that Mark's been putting on for a few years. So it's a real honor to be on the other side of the podium today to give you guys a bit of a preview of stuff that I've been building. So to give you guys a bit of, do we have echo?
Yeah. Just turn your sound off.
Oh, yes, good idea. I don't do this much, clearly. Yeah, so to give you guys a bit of a background on myself, I am a builder in the space. I started my building journey actually at Canva, and I was lucky enough to be there during the hypergrowth phases, working on some of the internationalization and SEO efforts. And worked on a lot of features there that millions of people use every single day. So it's really quite surreal. After that, I actually got deeper into the blockchain world. I did lead the building of several applications in the real world assets DeFi world, which was a lot of fun. But I didn't really fall in love with building until I think when ChatGPT came out, as I'm sure many of us in the room have. The possibilities are just endless with it. But I did see a particular problem that really resonated with, which is this idea of the fact that there's not really many tools out there, especially back in those days, where you could kind of like take full advantage of what the tech has to offer. But for people who aren't like, coders or, don't require like half a computer science degree to get up and running. So that's kind of where the soul of what I'm about to present to you guys came from. So it's called Polymer. I'm not sure if it's not really showing on the screen, is it? 1 second. Share. Yeah, so I think we've got to stop sharing on your laptop, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it says only one person can share at the same time. Someone else is sharing.
But you were sharing.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Hang on. Let me just turn it.
No worries.
Okay. This is okay. We are technical folks. This is fine.
Yep.
Just stop the share on that.
Just
There's no.
turn it off and turn it on again, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Try again.
All right. So, fingers crossed.
Usually with these things, we just do it on
lovely.
one laptop rather than four. Okay. We can see.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so this is kind of the results of a few years of iteration on a project to try and bridge the gap between what AI is capable of, and people don't want to code everything up. So this is called Polymer, right? And I dub it a spatial interface for people to think with agents. And the whole idea is we have these agents that we have in a marketplace, and then we could simply just like drag and drop these onto a surface, very kind of Figma or Miro, like if you guys have used any of those apps, and then we could just instantly start interacting with them. So we have some basic ones here that is pretty table stakes, so web search, and I have a bit of a demo that's kind of like tweaked specifically for the crowd today, which is, DeFi. So how about let's try to do some financial analysis on the state of Ethereum, right? So we could do something like research the market dynamics for Ethereum. Very easy. I mean, we've all done something like this with our pre-existing chat clients, but how about we also chuck on a X one? So that's an agent that's plugged into X, and we can also start a analysis with X. So that's all fun and good, and we have both of these going on at the same time while they do that. But we have this marketplace that offers us a lot of other services that we might be using in our day-to-day workflow. So how about we pull this Hyperliquid agent on? So normally to get an MCP up and running, if any of you have tried in the crowd, it is a headache and a half if you want to get it through Claude or something running. But on here, all you have to do is to just drag it in from the marketplace, and yeah, we could talk to Hyperliquid basically. So how about we get let's get some technical analysis on Ethereum. So what's happening here is that we have an agent that is talking to Hyperliquid's APIs and also performing some relatively basic technical analysis. And yeah, hopefully that we'll get that soon. But let's come back to here. So one of the main problems that we're trying to solve with Polymer is this idea of everyone's just copy and pasting between AI clients these days, which is definitely a bit of a pain. I went through that pain myself. So core to this is the ability to kind of like drag around things. But before I get onto that, as we can see here with its response, it is all grounded in real research. So yeah, no hallucinations, hopefully. And similarly with X, as we can see here, same thing. You can click on these annotations and see where it gets its information from. But to demonstrate the lack of needing to drag things around, you can basically drag agent responses onto the canvas like this if you want to refer to them for another part of your workflow. But what you can also do is if you have to collate a lot of stuff as a part of what you do day to day, is you could actually drag them together and create what are called stacks. So think of stacks as folders that you can talk to. So everything on the canvas is something that you can talk to, including your documents. To demonstrate that, we also have a document here that we can drag onto the canvas just like that. And in a moment, we should be able to talk with it as well. But we have some quick actions here. So think of these as prompts that you might use a lot in your day-to-day. I'm sure we all got LLMs to summarize something for us at one point. So there we go. We could just trigger that instantly. So if we come back to the Hyperliquid conversation here, as you can see here, we have, I don't know if the text is too small, but we can see some basic technical analysis, very useful if you don't want to lose money in the market these days. We could chuck this in here, and now that is available to us inside of that stack, which is very useful. So I just clicked on the extract key info. So let's say that we want to write a report of some sorts and just summarize a lot of our findings that we've gotten over this workflow. We can just click that button and get that. So what if we want to store it somewhere? And yeah, MCPs aren't read only. You could also write to your MCPs. And here we have a Notion MCP. Notion is awesome about this. Like they created their own MCP server for us to plug into. And instead of having to go through a lot of dialogues and stuff like that to get it up and running, we could just click that login button right there, authenticate with Notion, and just like that, we have it up and running, hopefully. There we go. So as you can see here, there is also this row here. So what these are called are actions, and it goes back to that idea of, in the age of AI, we're just copy and pasting like prompts that we use a lot everywhere. Instead of having to copy and paste it from a notepad somewhere, you could just preset them into your agents and basically trigger like specific actions with them. So we have a built-in one here that just shows us what pages we have in our workspace, but let's create a new one. Let's say that we want to store our research into a specific page within our Notion workspace. So we could do something like add to Notion and then give it, some, let's say, create a new page in our analysis page. I think we have that in there. Let's hope it works. So these aren't just click and trigger. You can actually drag and drop responses from agents to trigger these actions. So for example, here we have the results of some summary of all of the responses that we got in this workflow. And let's just drag that into our Notion. So as you can see here, it's going to start talking to the MCP. And so this here we added earlier from our operating system itself. And just like that, it is a document that we can query and talk to as if it was, an agent in itself. And we can also preview it like that. So the idea is hopefully you won't have to switch as many tabs either. Anyway, that's kind of like the whole demonstration that I have for today. And while that Notion agent is running, I'm wondering if anyone has any questions I can answer. Yes?
Does this have the ability to plug into, say, like cryptocurrency derivatives, like the Deribit API or the Binance API?
Yeah, so for a lot of those APIs, they don't have an existing MCP server. So as a part of the platform, what we actually offer is the ability to build bespoke MCP integrations for public APIs. So for example, with the Hyperliquid MCP, it is not an MCP server that is provided by Hyperliquid themselves, but we have an internal system for wrapping their APIs and which gives access to those platforms for our agents, even if they don't have it. Yeah. So
in theory, if you have a private key, you could like set up your own API feeds into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some MCPs that don't use OAuth. One of them is GitHub. And so when we drag on the GitHub MCP, as you can see, you could put in a private key. Any other questions? Yes, at the back.
Is the Twitter side, is that a scraping tool that's coming in, or is it using the API because they bumped up their fees?
Yes, so we are using the XAI models under the hood here, and as a part of leveraging their models, we do have access to the provider tool, which means it's kind of like built into their model. So we're not actually using an API for that. We're just getting it directly out of the model. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool.
How do you compare this with OpenClaw,
Mm-hmm.
which you can use skills instead of MCPs to do multiple things?
Yeah. So I wouldn't really kind of class this in the same kind of UX, I suppose. So with OpenClaw, you're trying to achieve kind of like full autonomy with what it's doing, right? So, but for us, we're trying to solve a different kind of problem that often arises with those all-in-one autonomous agents, which is this idea of like knowing what the agent's actually doing and having more control over the process itself. So the reason why we went with a Canvas UI is just so that the user of the agent is able to have like full transparency into the operations of the agent itself, and also to kind of like direct the agents at critical junctions. That oftentimes, like because the error rate for a lot of the fully hands-off, no human in the loop agents kind of compounds over time, we do want to try and hand back some of that autonomy back to the user through our strategy. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Anna. I think seeing someone create something like that obviously takes an incredible amount of intelligence. And I think one of the main things I've kind of taken out the last few months is quite an, I guess, novice person to the space in terms of AI, is the way we need to re-orchestrate our way of thinking to get maximum utility out of that, which is something that me and Mark will speak on later. But now Mark and Arturo will be speaking on the blockchain economies and AI. And we'll get some updates from them. Thank you.
Arturo, bring up the stool. I make to guess like work here for the bags of money I don't throw at them. There we go. Is this thing on? Again, why? I think you have to be like line of sight. Oh, it had it. Why? Why? Here, Arturo, I'll give you the You know, it really doesn't matter if you know, the mic doesn't work here because I'm recording on this. So that's fine. Why is that not sharing? I started screen share. Yes, I have. What the frick? Did we just break it because of that? Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. Chris, can you read out the code for me? Sorry about this, folks. Usually we don't switch between things, so that's why. What was it again? Oh, hit share. Oh, sorry, I can't see. No, that's it.
Ready?
Yep.
66.
779 3294. Yeah, I knew it. I just wanted to get you to. Can you? No, it wasn't on. I thought you checked. All right, cool. Just close that, and then on the people hit no, close that. No, no, yeah, admit there. All right, Arturo, thanks for waiting. You good?
Good.
You got to talk to the mic, man.
Good.
Hang on, let's see if this actually works this time. What is it? Okay, finally, well done. Okay, demo gods, we're happy. All right. Before I go on, if you want to try out Polymer, this is the QR code or to go to the website. Is it open? Can people sign up?
There's a wait list, yes.
There's a wait list. There we go. You can join up and hurry up and wait, as they say. Polymer. That's it. Polymer.diy. Okay. Next, this is Arturo. This is his QR code. We're going to talk about a few things. Arturo and I used to work together at Not Centralized. I still, do some stuff there. We still partner on blockchain things. I do AI stuff with another group that Arturo is also connected to as well. It's all decentralized, it's a spectrum, let's call it that. But before we get into this, Arturo, we spoke about some research from Citrini. And for folks that don't know, it was this research. Hands up who heard of the Citrini research piece? A few? It was really interesting because it's this research paper that was, it really drove a lot of the stocks that are, legal and other tech companies, it drove them down, what they call the SaaS apocalypse. We're going to talk about blockchain and AI, but what's the starting point? You told me before just now you wanted to start off with this.
Yeah. So
Why?
it was a really interesting article for some good and bad reasons, and I think that it really got me to think about the way in which we effectively, let's say, categorize AI and blockchain, and make the distinction between them as are you a blockchain person or are you an AI person, or you kind of have to always choose bands, which is a bit ridiculous, but
You want to be all.
well, I mean, if you focus on the solution, then you have to kind of do all of those things.
If we were in
right?
quantum, we would technically be all.
Both at the same time.
Exactly.
But I think that the nice thing with this article is that it actually talks about the economy, but it does so from an agentic point of view. And I think that it's now kind of widely accepted that if you're talking about the economy in the next phase of what that thing looks like, you're actually talking about blockchain with DeFi primitives and so forth, right? And I do want to make a point before we talk about that specific research piece that I think it was last weekend or the weekend before when oil started to go the wrong direction. JP Morgan comes out and writes this article about this new little platform that they were surprised by called Hyperliquid, which was the only place where you could actually trade oil over the weekends. And that, I think, had volumes of $1.7, $1.8 billion.
Was it like the Polymarket / Kalshi, but for grown-ups?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Now, that was actually really, really interesting because all of a sudden you see how these technologies, which to my knowledge, Hyperliquid has no licensing or regulation or is not part of a jurisdiction or anything like that. Right?
Regulation, schmegulation, yeah.
Yeah, and still it became the go-to place simply because of necessity for trading something that was as important as oil. So again, I'm tying up the need for blockchain as that economy primitive, but then the effect of agents on this new economy. And you wrote a really nice piece about this research report that was more on the positive side. I know you have ADHD, but do you remember what you wrote?
Yeah, it was more about like this report was talking a lot about. There were parts of it that were quite negative. I see them as opportunities, and basically, I'm not on, am I? Doesn't really matter. Basically, the thing that I see about it is that all new technologies are expansive. Doesn't matter? Doesn't matter. Okay, Chris. All new technologies are expansive, and whilst this will get rid of what we're doing now, I think of jobs and roles as like a set of tasks. It'll get rid of the tasks we were doing yesterday, but we're really bad at predicting the future. There's a really great ABC series that's out at the moment where it's like messages from the past, and people in the 40s, 50s, 60s were sending messages to people in the 80s and 90s wondering of what were the things that we would do, and they got it mostly wrong, right? If you look at any old movie that looks at what the future is, we'd all be in flying cars right now, and we're not yet. But the thing is that we don't quite know how we're going to work with these new technologies, but that's what they are. Blockchain's a bit more, it didn't set off the radars and the alarm bells as much as AI is. But at the end of the day, when you really work with AI, you see that, okay, it's really good at some things. It gets you to be able to do some things really quickly, but it falls over unless you have the real expertise and knowledge there. Like someone's vibe coded app versus an expert's well-crafted, well-designed app, you both using AI, there's going to be a clear difference. So it was mainly about that. That's what I saw.
So I think that the really nice thing with the article was that it, in a relatively coherent way, it actually played things forward in a really apocalyptic way as well, because it went all the way down to actually talking about a prime mortgage crisis, because individuals that were considered as prime borrowers all of a sudden were impaired because AI had taken their jobs, and therefore they couldn't pay back their mortgages, and that spiraled the entire economy. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I can't see that. But one thing that did come out was that it builds on the assumption that ultimate intelligence is the thing that wins and drives an economy.
So UI, ultimate intelligence, you heard it here, over AI.
And it's a really interesting concept because on the one hand, agentic trading or automated trading is actually what drives most of the financial markets today and has done so for the past many years. These are just much simpler agents that effectively have just a maximization function of the P&L, of the profit, right? And if we think about what else could these AI agents actually be or do, right? I mean, in the article, they basically say that, well, agents can just do anything that a person can do, but better. Now, how much does that actually matter, right? Let's think of it this way. How many of the smartest people around are actually the richest, right, or the wealthiest? And there isn't that strong a correlation there. I mean, sure, you have to be relatively smart, but it's not like the Fields medalists in math are the ones that are the richest, or the guys in physics or economics or psychology, or you name it, right? The top people at a field.
So it's okay to be dumb.
Kind of. But I think that the point is that if you break everything down to what the article is actually talking about in terms of what does the new economy look like, it assumes that the economy is an interaction between a bunch of agents that effectively decouple themselves from human beings, and therefore they drive this completely parallel economy where we add zero value. We're not part of that world. Now, I think that a question there is an economy without humans an economy? Or does an economy actually need humans? Is an economy in reality just a coordination of value exchange between two individuals or more, right? And in that scenario, the agents, much in the way that we're actually seeing right now, they're just there to support us to do whatever it is that we want to do, however smart or dumb that may be, right? It's not like they actually run their own P&Ls and maximize profits and then bloat their balance sheet, because there is actually an element of bloating from that point of view where it becomes detrimental and it's only driven by ego, something that arguably an agent wouldn't really have, right?
But Arturo's agent definitely does have
it
ego.
will have
so
a big
just,
ego.
Just know that much is true. But I think, we've spoken about this when the AI tech was just starting to come out. It was initially just ChatGPT and just going back and forth with it. But then when there was like more being done with coding and Cursor being one of those first ones, and obviously through GitHub and then all these others that follow. Well, what happens and how do you play together with blockchain? So people have spoken about blockchain for payments. You can do blockchain's really good at two things. Less on the everyday transactions before, like now arguable, and we've got stablecoins, so that's good. So that's going to really help. But before, early on, it was like really good for big payments or very, very small microtransactions. It wasn't worth some of these microtransactions, just reading a page off a website, for example, and a microtransaction there. You wouldn't do that with normal just payment rails. What a waste of money and resources, but blockchain makes it easy to do that. So when it comes to like an economy, where do you see the picture being painted? Or I know it's hard to tell the future, but where can you see being so close to both?
Yeah, I did want to do a very early stage demo, but I won't because it was a bit difficult.
Can we just vibe code it up and just pretend it's real?
Connect. But I will use Anna. I will use your example because I thought that it was a really, really good demo. And if we think about the argument of the value of stable coins in terms of it's good for small transactions or it's good for big transactions, you're kind of missing the entire point behind the reason why the transaction exists in the very first place. And effectively what Anna showed, or my interpretation of what Anna showed there, was that this tool is actually a way in which you use AI agents to actually coordinate across many different individuals. These individuals run businesses, like, for example, Hyperliquid, or they're part of a community. So effectively what the AI agent does through these new tools that we have, which, for example, are MCP and so forth, they just simplify the way in which me as a trader can engage with a group of individuals that are already trading through Hyperliquid, that is already engage also with the coordination that the owners of Hyperliquid have designed through their platform, right? But at the end of the day, all of that is really just about human coordination, but done so in a much easier way because the AI is connecting all of us to do these things. So in that environment or in that context, the question is, well, how do we effectively compensate each other for the value that we're bringing each other to the table, right? And yes, that is many microtransactions perhaps, but the point is that you actually need to have something like a blockchain in order to have the real-time visibility over why you're making the payment and compressing that message of here's why I'm making the payment to actually the payment being made straight away.
Go ahead.
No, because otherwise, like, imagine if you were to do that through API connections and Stripe and card payments and so forth, right? It would just be an absolute mess from an architectural point of view.
You just be checking your phone all the time to get the code and accept it on Stripe, my 6-digit code or whatever. But it reminds me of, like, if we're gonna like this system that you're talking about, do you think it gets to something like Black Mirror, where it was that episode where everyone had to rate each other? We lived in that kind of social credit society. Do you see that, or?
I mean, I think that to a certain extent we're kind of already there with social media.
Yeah, true.
Right, people get cancelled constantly. It's just that it's much more. It's much more tangible than the Black Mirror version. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really interesting, seeing where these things go, because obviously in the background, what we've got here is stablecoins, Australian dollar stablecoins. Before, when we were part of the RBA's project in 2023, it was construction payments. money from the actual RBA for a $20,000 construction job in Queensland, where you would never touch escrows for $20,000. It has to be a six-figure or $1 million kind of project before you even do that. But because of blockchain, it's possible to have that protection against the backdrop of 2020 to 2021. There was like 2,000 building and construction companies that collapsed because imagine doing the work and not knowing whether the other side's going to pay you or not. Imagine coming to an event and not knowing whether it's going to be good enough or not. Like we'll work that out, right?
Yeah, so I'll commit for the next session to actually show a proper demo of what we're working on. But in principle, what I'll say is that there's a big difference between designing for agents trading and buying things between each other, as that being the new paradigm for the next economy, as opposed to blockchain being the framework, the structure that defines how we're actually interacting between each other. Think of it as workflows or pipelines that are very well defined and you can't deviate them. But effectively what you're doing is that you're composing multiple workflows to achieve the many things that we do on a daily basis.
And imagine that there's rules that are there because you can do, like the example that we've always spoken about is that you have rules and regulations and then enforcement after the fact. That's the society that we're in now. But with blockchain, if you're not allowed to sell a wholesale product to a retail trader, well, guess what? You can do it now. You're not supposed to. You get in trouble after if you get caught. But with blockchain, you could have rules in there, right? So you could have AI doing its thing, the agentic economy, the delegation of who you are. Your crypto wallet now has an AI agent to it. But if it's not supposed to have a certain type of product from whatever exchange, then it's just not going to happen, is it?
I think that even if you think about how a product is issued, sometimes it's actually a very big process. And the reason it's a big process is because it's extremely clunky. It's a number of individuals working at different firms, many lawyers involved that are effectively passing this piece of paper back and forth between themselves. And then they're all agreeing that this should be done. And that ends up with an Excel sheet somewhere. And it ends up with a record somewhere else where all of this is communicated, again, through FTP if you're lucky, and CSVs and so forth. But within this process, there are two things that are happening that are complicated. A, the infrastructure that people use to effectively coordinate themselves and agree that things should happen. Here I'm talking about emails and CSVs. And at the same time, it's people that are double checking each other and running through processes that can effectively be run much more effectively through agents. And on top of that, the lack of visibility towards me not knowing if the lawyer is actually working on this thing or at what step they're through that process or that pipeline. There's so much lack of visibility towards standard coordinated efforts that we rely on a day-to-day basis, which effectively is that beautiful combination of on a blockchain you can actually track and trust that things that are happening at the same time as if you're a lawyer and you need to draft something or you need to review something, the obvious go-to is the agent does it first and then you review or you guide the agent to do so, right? And these things are, I think, the ones that actually do or will change the economy quite dramatically, right? And it's all human-driven. It's actually not agent-driven.
Exactly. And, always having that human or expert in the loop, arguably the latter is better. But for more on this, please do network with Arturo. We'll bring him on when he's done his homework. Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't mean to throw you under the bus. But yeah, thank you. If you want to take a seat. Thank you. Oh, that's your order. Right. I'm going to grab this seat for now. We're going to get to something interesting next. We've got another guest who's just come in. We'll talk to later about the legal side of blockchain and AI. But we've got a hackathon coming up that will be probably judged at the next event. I'm going to go through some stuff here. So Kraken, our awesome major sponsor for the year, they have this competition. It's only 1,000, but still 500. That's pretty good. That's a lot of dominoes, right? You guys could sponsor the next event. But $1,000, so 500, 300, 200. This is going to be based on something they released 2 weeks ago. So let me just go to this. Actually, I should have a code for it here. Is this the one? No, where is it? Kraken. Okay, cool. So this is their GitHub. So if you go to this, the Kraken FX, Kraken CLI, I think I've got a QR code for it. I'm going to show you something that, what is possible? What can you build? I'm not an engineer. I'm a data scientist, so I work with SQL statistics. I love Excel, and I hate it at the same time. Just like I love and hate, no, I love Arturo. But if you go to this, and we go back to our slides here, there are some things, I keep clicking the wrong thing. There are some things that you can do with it. Okay, and I feel like more are doing this kind of stuff. I'll go back to that. This is the thing I will show you live, okay? And I use Claude Code. You don't have to. You could use whatever else you like. Watch a lot of AI YouTubers. They've all got their favorites and stuff. I've got a live market watch list. There's some, they've got X stocks. They're a really interesting exchange. The only thing is, so they've got stocks on there. So tokenized equities, the trade 24/7. The problem is, they're not available here in Australia. So even through this app, I cannot add X stocks to my portfolio. So kudos to Kraken. So let me just show you the terminal. So this is it. Hands up who's seen a Bloomberg terminal? A few of you. They look to the everyday kind of person really, ugh, like what's that? I showed my girlfriend, she's like, why does it look that way? I'm like, why indeed? But I tried to make it look like that a little bit. You've got your thing here, you can see all the different pairs, that they have in the terminal. And I can see a few things here. What I've done is I've got a podcast I really like. They've just been acquired, actually. I've pressed the button here to get their opinion. This is called FX Evolution. They talk about all sorts of markets, commodities, equities, crypto. I advise you to look at them. 240,000 subscribers, not bad, and they're Aussie, right? They're really big in the States. They've been acquired by Open Markets Group, who I do some work with, so shout outs to those guys. So you'll be seeing a lot more of them. I grabbed the latest 4 videos, and in the background, this has been trained up on how those guys speak. They usually talk about, today's number is 71, today's number is 8, here's why. So it's, all right, guys, so the number today is 810. That's the millions in liquidization we saw on Bitcoin in a single 24-hour window, and that right there is headline, blah, blah, blah. Shout outs to Thomas Atkinson, really cool guy. Great to hear on a really popular financial news channel, an Aussie, leading the charge there. But anyways, that's one of the things that you could do, ask Claude Code, Anthropic to do this kind of stuff. X stocks, this is the stuff that you can, and these are all like, what do we got here? Nokia, BlackBerry, Zoom, IBM. These are tokenized equities you can trade, but unfortunately, if I try to add those, I can't, show them here. And I wanted to do some correlation stuff between them and equities. But I do know that Y Finance, Yahoo Finance, the library in Python is Y Finance. I can get the equivalent from there. So I can add stocks to this portfolio. Same thing, except I can actually add these because it's coming from Yahoo. So let's click on these. So Salesforce, that great name of SaaSpocalypse fame. So that happens sometimes, just refresh. Here you see the chart, so you can see the price chart. This is coming from Yahoo Finance. There's another one, from Kraken's API for the crypto side of things. And what I can do, I've got all the news, this is all from Yahoo, but I've got correlations here. So one side's coming from Kraken, the other side's coming from Yahoo Finance. I can see that it was a 21% correlation over a year, 25 over 2 years, and about 25 over 5. So nothing too crazy there. Did it increase over the last 6 months? I'd argue there's probably more correlation there. Probably have to check my calc. Check your work. I know from looking at that looks more correlated than it says. I'm going to check the numbers there when I go home. But the point of that is that you can do these sorts of things. You can bring up the crypto charts. You can put various sorts of things like technical analysis on there for those that like to draw lines over other lines. But you can also put news on there. So here's some morning brief stuff from Claude, and I can do more and more and more like that. the point of this is that there is a competition. The QR code, do I have the QR code for it? Yep, here. So if you want to sign up, and you don't have to be technical, just literally go to this, throw it into Claude, ask Claude, download Claude Desktop, okay? If you do it on Claude, the web browser, it's harder to do, but with Claude Desktop, you can do something with Cowork. Cowork is a tab on there. Why don't I just show you? Mark likes to talk. Mark also likes to show. All right, so I still use Claude Code through the CLI, the black and white CLI that you see here. This is Claude Code. Nice and friendly for people who like to work late at night. That's why it's dark, right? But also, they've got Claude Desktop. You've got something called Cowork. Make sure you point Cowork to a folder, a working folder, just so it's only got access to that. And then you could talk to this website. You can point to it. You can say in this folder, help me build out something with this. I'd start off with just asking it to give you some numbers back. Don't actually go and build the app first. Just make sure you can connect to the API and do some stuff with it. And then, ask it about how would I build an app. It might actually open up Claude Code and start doing some stuff for you in the background. Claude Desktop is the way to go there. And there's more, we'll teach some of this stuff. I do a lot of sessions on that, but that's the competition. So like I said, 500, 300, 200, we'll hope to announce some winners next month, and more of this kind of stuff, because whether it's Hyperliquid, whether it's other exchanges, whether it's other people from the AI space running some competitions, I want to bring that to the community. We are going to be a community of builders. Whether you are technical or not, you can still build, okay? And if you've got ideas and if you want to partner and collaborate, just reach out. We can put you in touch with people. We want to share, and I want to see some great winners there. So let's go to, a few more things. They've got a builders program. You can scan that from Kraken to apply for that. They've got funding across these 3 tracks. The Spark one, which is just small ones, like 500 to 5,000, just for some quick builds. Maybe you're doing a dashboard or something like that with their data. Forge, which is much bigger, 200,000 USDC. And then Echo, which is, retroactive. I guess they go back in time, and that'd be cool. And then the micro grant one, that's the Spark one that you can see there, some more information about that. So I thought that might be just interesting to just, go directly to. I can bring these back up later. So anyone that has any interest in these, come see me after class. Before we go to building with AI, I am just gonna skip and let's go to Chris Frankish. Chris is a lawyer that I work with. I'm head of AI at a law firm called Madison Marcus. Chris, thanks for coming down. You were just at the other event,
Yes.
the block earner high net wealth one. How was that?
It was good. Thanks, Mark, for having me and being a part of this community. Block Owner was a good event. It was in conjunction with Ainsley Bullion. I wasn't there long enough to get into the depth of their conversation, but again, another great community in this space.
Where was that at? Just up at?
Just at the Commons, yeah.
You've been in from the legal side of things. You've been looking at a lot of what blockchain folks are doing and connecting with the community there. From a legal kind of perspective, like you've got a background in financial markets, right? So what is it that you find interesting about the legal side of apart from the fact that we're still trying to get regulated? But
Yes.
What interests you here?
So so I guess as my background, financial services regulation, historically the TradFi businesses, investment funds, banks, payment processors in the old style. There was a natural progression from that into the DeFi, the blockchain, and future ways of moving money, really. What interests me from a legal perspective is the regulation is changing. So while I love it, none of my clients do, but I enjoy that, and I enjoy the technical side of it. So on my desk at the moment, I've got an advice I'm preparing for a client on is what they're doing are the tokens that they're issuing a non-cash payment. That's a very technical argument to look at. I love that side of it, and it becomes obviously critical because if it is a non-cash payment, it's a financial service, they need an AFSL. That then impacts the exchanges that they're listed on as well, because some of them don't have an AFSL. They can't then issue or list if it's a financial product. So the questions I'm most commonly asked from my clients, both the TradFi and the DeFi side, is, do I need an AFSL? And do I need to be registered with AUSTRAC? So I handle all the AML work for the clients too, which obviously exchanges were the I guess, pioneers in the crypto world of being regulated that way. That's moving further. And I also look at the data protection and privacy law, which both from captures them, but also more so on the AI blockchain side, depending on how they're using the technology.
It's interesting on the AI side of things because I lead that charge internally at the firm, but then also for the firm's clients and others. And often people just think that, oh, but I've got ChatGPT for business or like Claude, enterprise, and that's fine for my data. But you're in a space where you're legally mandated to not allow data to go offshore. Just because you clicked and yes, your data is private, it's still being processed. Think about this. There's two things with any AI system. Where the data is stored, your chat threads, your documents, and anything you ask it, where that's stored and saved. It's saved there because when you go back in, you click and it comes back up. That's from a database. Where does that database sit? And then secondly, where are the AI calls going? You might have a database that's sitting here in Australia, and that's cool, hunky-dory. You're flying by the regulations. You're doing the good thing, the right thing. But your AI calls are still using OpenAI where it's being sent overseas. But there are ways around this, right? You can use Claude through AWS, and it's on a server here. And majority of the inference, or what they call inference, happens here. But read the fine-grained terms. Using Azure, as Arturo and I used to do for OpenAI calls and stuff. And if you've got both of those, the AI calls plus the database, the data where it sits, you should be okay. But that's only really for finance, legal, healthcare. Are there other ones that, from a legal perspective, that have to abide by the Australian privacy principles?
Any financial service business with a license. So that's why I cover so much of that aspect. If they have a AFSL, they're also captured by privacy. You now have businesses that are captured by AML. There's new laws coming in from July. So law firms, so I myself now am captured, accountants and real estate. They're now captured for AML, which then gives them also data and privacy obligations. So they now have to look at what they're doing with the data. Obviously, we're familiar with being KYC'd for a bank and for other payment services. Do I give them my license? Do I give them my health information? Do they keep it? Can they keep it? And once I give it to them, what can they do? And so the example of the AI, where the answers are coming from, it's similar to the old world now, the cloud. Your business you might store information in the cloud. Well, where is that server actually located? Is it going through 3 other locations before it gets to that location? And do you even know? And they're the questions we're looking at for clients on the privacy side. I've actually just last week sent off an advice for a business that's looking to develop some AI, some customer-facing AI, and wanted to know what they could input from they're also regulated in other areas, what information they could get from their clients straight into the AI, and whether they had to make it public or a closed environment.
And I think it's important also to speak to a lawyer. I'm not trying to promote like Chris here, I am, but you do need to speak to someone in I was going to say a legal officer, a lawyer first before it's after the fact and it's way too late. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, you haven't put up that slide yet. The Subnautica case.
Oh, yeah, hang on.
Is probably the best.
Is it this one? Did I not capture it? This one?
Yes, it's probably the best advert for seeking a lawyer that you could find.
Who heard about this? Gaming company Subnautica, $250 million fine.
So the studio who made Subnautica got purchased by another studio. There were performance criteria in that contract. Subnautica was obviously successful and met the criteria, so that the developer was owed $250 million. The CEO, I think Crafton was the name, Crafton, didn't want to pay. So he spoke to his in-house legal counsel and they said, no, you have to pay. he wasn't particularly happy. So he thought, I'll fire the guy so I don't have to pay him. He went to, I think it was ChatGPT, and said, how can I fire this guy and not have to pay? Actually, the first response was, no, you still have to pay. He then didn't like that answer, so changed the prompts and got ChatGPT, I think it was, to actually set out a plan to effectively stage a firing and termination of him without having to pay. The short answer is he did terminate him. He lodged an unfair dismissal or the equivalent of and was successful. So he tried to save $250 million, relied on ChatGPT and lost.
Crapped on got crapped on.
It very much did. And not only did he not seek legal advice, he sought legal advice, received it and ignored it. So it comes back to, I think, one of your comments earlier. It's, reliance on it. It's probably not quite there in the legal space. So yes, is that a question?
Did he also use the ChatGPT business account, which is why they're
I don't know which account.
His personal account.
It's just,
social thing to
no, but it was ChatGPT's first answer was you still have to pay him. So it's coming back to, AI is probably not quite there in the large language models for legal advice. It's there for many, many things, and Mark's a greater exponent of that than I am.
There's some other ones that Warner versus Gilbarco that you highlighted, and United States versus Hepner. Anytime you see that's the might of that country versus you.
Yes.
You've got rulings here. So what happened in both? So Warner versus Gilbarco, that the plaintiff used AI as part of an attorney supervised litigation workflow.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
On the left.
That one?
You sent me these, right?
No, I didn't send you that one.
Oh, didn't you?
The
Okay.
one,
the AI
the one
has hallucinated a case. No, it might be real.
The one I sent you was the Air Canada chatbot, where it's a bit older, but.
Okay.
What?
Tell us about that one.
Sorry, no. AI can teach me things too still, so
Maybe.
I'm happy to learn about those. But no, this is one where it's more things to think about when you're using it and what risks are involved is a customer wanted to go on a trip, used the chatbot on the Air Canada's website to ask about certain insurance policies and cancellation policies. They purchased the ticket, relied on what the chatbot had said, ended up needing to cancel the ticket. Air Canada argued, we didn't say that, that's not our terms.
Yeah, the AI said it, not us.
Yes, it was the chatbot made it on itself, and we don't control the chatbot, so it's clearly not us. I'm impressed they had the gumption to run that argument in a court. They did lose. So the risk, I guess, then is if you develop something, and I guess one of the questions too is always, when you're developing something, what are you developing it for, and who are you developing it for?
And how do you put guardrails around it so it doesn't do that?
Absolutely, and is it going to be customer facing like the chatbot, like a large language model? Is it internal? Is it like PwC, transferring payments internally using blockchain? That's very different from someone like a Wiser wanting to use blockchain, where they're dealing with the retail clients. So it's what are you developing for, and who are your clients? Is it a business internally, or is it going to be a customer-facing product?
Yeah, I think it's really important as well, because whether you're trying to get an airfare discounted and you've prompt manipulated it to do that for you and take it to court, or you just want to use some of those ones online to do free AI work so you don't have to use your own account. I've seen some people use some of those chatbots on company websites to do some Claude Code type stuff. So you might, it's like a free ATM. But in any case, Chris, there's a lot more that we will cover in future episodes there. But what are you looking forward to? Like, given that you're at this intersection of the blockchain and the AI space, what are you kind of seeing as interesting things going forward? I think
I guess I can piggy off Tiro a little bit there, and it's both AI and blockchain are at the next stage of maturity. I'm fortunate today, in fact, that the Assistant Governor of the RBA mentioned today with Project Acacia that they've effectively closed stage one, and they're looking at now. It's no longer a test of can we do it. It's what do we want to do with it, and that's really where I'm seeing too with clients. Yes, there's still the exchanges. There's the simpler initial work that clients were doing with blockchain and cryptocurrency. It's now looking at more tokenization and what they can do with that. The payment systems, the tokenizing real world assets and what assets they want to tokenize and how they can go about doing that. So it's very much now, it's still a long way to go to maturity of the existing financial system, but it's well on their way. It's no longer a test.
I think, there was something that was just announced, speech after Acacia.
Yes,
For those wondering, the RBA has a lot of these great, hey, use AI to go back and grab all of the RBA reports and do something with it. That is my idea, but you may have it. But yeah, Brad Jones here speaking about it. So you can see pretty much the whole speech.
It is. I think it's a transcript of his actual speech.
It's really interesting that in the transcript he's got dot points. That is really cool. How you get to do that? But yeah, this will be interesting, and no doubt we'll probably write about this ourselves. But you heard it here first. Love a good chart that is not interactive. I hate it. But Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll see you at the next question.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
How much do we care about what's going on in the US now with the Clarity Act and what the US will do?
Great question.
I would say somewhat. By default, it has to be an international system. It's not going to work if it's not. Australia, to some degree, typically follows the US and the UK. Obviously, Asia as well. But the US is a lot more state-based, so there's that difficulty in terms of following one over the other. And if I move away from that, the AML work that I do is a great example. That's been imposed on Australia by the international AML body because Australia's not up to scratch. What we're doing now really is following the UK about 5 years ago. So we follow those markets. We're very innovative on an individual scale, but from a regulatory sphere, we usually follow the US and the UK. So it's definitely need to keep track of them. And there's going to have to be some international accord somewhere along the lines.
Thank you. One more?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. We spoke before about the aging economy. I'm really curious from a compliance legal point of view, if it lets you sleep at night. So much damage could be done now. Some criminals can.
It could.
Like crazy.
It's one of those things, the more you know, the more you could be worried. So again, even on the AML side, what I know is scary in a lot of ways. That the financial scams going on and all of that side, separate to, Austrac and ASIC worry about crypto. Real estate, luxury goods like cars and watches and homes are still the number one item used for money laundering, or number 1, 2, and 3, we'll say. Seeing what happens on that side is quite scary. It's very sophisticated and impressive, but it's also quite scary when you see the real world impact on people being trafficked, drugs and all of that. It's going to be similar, I guess. That the risk for the AI side is coming back to, I guess, the current US environment is if we're using AI in weapons, who's making the decisions and who has control? And that's where there were proposed guardrails out of California last year that I think got vetoed by the governor at the stage.
SB 1047.
Which I jokingly terminated the Terminator guardrails. It was basically developing a kill switch so that technology can't take over infrastructure. I don't know what the latest on that is, but there's going to have to be something, and there's going to have to be a way to not let AI make too many decisions that could have those ramifications.
And this is where you could have blockchain come into it, where, for the fake stuff, like having a zero knowledge proof, which doesn't have to be blockchain, that could be on a database. Arturo here's deployed a few of these things with RBA projects, right? Where basically you are able to have something that is signed at the start, and unless it's coming from that place, doesn't matter how many people fake it, unless they can actually sign that ZK proof, it's not going to be able to be trusted. So there's a few things that we could do and we could ideate on. Yes, sir.
Bit of a outside the normal question, but I was curious. What's your thoughts of the financial planning space and that? Because I I understand that recently there were some proposals made to Senate to allow another authorization for financial planners, retail clients to provide advice on digital assets.
There was. I don't know the specifics of it. I've acted for planners a long time ago. I don't act for too many of them directly now. There are usually some exemptions for them because they're providing advice only or assistance, generally not the issuer of the products. So there's some exemptions for that. And again, in the AML space, they still have obligations, but typically not as strict as the banks or the investment funds that they're advising about. So I can't comment specifically on the latest changes, but happy to come back to you on that.
Yeah, we'll have to. What do they call it when? What's the legal term for it? We'll have to take a sidebar or something. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. Sidebar this. Chris, thank you. We'll have to move on.
Thanks, Mark.
Anyone, please connect with Chris. No, leave it there. Could I get Lydia back up on stage to help me guinea pig some stuff? I'm the pig, by the way. The guinea. I don't know. Whatever. I'm both, aren't I, Chris? Chris? Where'd Chris go? Is Chris okay?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys okay? Chris, all right. Building with AI. Lydia, here, grab the mic, take a seat. You have no idea what's going to come, but this is great. This is why it's even better. So you know it's not hallucinated. Oh, wait, maybe it is. All right. So we want to use this segment in these shows to showcase the builders, to showcase stuff that we're building. We will constantly champion, what people are doing in the community. Chris and I are going to show something right at the end. Big announcement. Some cool stuff there. So luckily it's recorded. But I built ETF Tracker. So if you go to etftracker.com.au, you can look at ETFs. The ASX publishes Excel spreadsheets that Arturo loves, but you turn it into stuff. I had a thought, superannuation, that's a big kind of field. There's a lot of data, annual, quarterly, my super data where, we want to rate APRA, the Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority. They rate superannuation companies. So a lot of data, I want to make it instantly understandable. And there's a lot of calculators online as well. So I built this, you can go to that, we'll go to it live, yoursupertracker.com.au, you can sign up. What I'm going to do live, Lydia, is we're going to run through a few scenarios for a person and just show some of the things that it can do. I'm going to get you to throw out some numbers here, but yoursupertracker.com.au. I think I made it mobile friendly. I can't remember, man. But anyway, on desktop where it works great, when you log in, you'll see these things here, the annual stats. We'll go to my profile and then come back to this. But the thing that you normally see on a lot of these super kind of tools is you profile yourself. So give me a random age that's alive.
55.
Oh, younger. Let's go younger because
28.
Okay, 28. All right, male, female, prefer not to say.
Female.
Okay, prefer not to say. No, I mean female. How much super would that person have right now? Not just give me any number.
Let's say
they've done well, they've done not well.
90k.
90k. They got $90,000 in super, and how much did that person earn? Do they have a good job? Have they been robotized out? Were they part of Atlassian and got fired, and now they're working at Uber or something?
Let's say 120k.
120k. I love it. Okay, and when do they want to retire? They're 28 now. They see the Iran war, petrol prices going up.
29.
29. Okay. we're gonna go 49. No, we'll go 59. We'll go 59. Just so we got a bit of a projection there. And which super fund would they be with? I'll read out some, unless you've got something you want there. I mean, Colonial, Australian Super, Aware, CSS, Macquarie. What's
Vanguard, is it?
Vanguard? Vanguard Super is there. All right, let's have a look. So someone in that, what the app does, because it's got APRA data as well. It's not just the calculator. Here is your generic projection. I've got that. But thanks to APRA, we can see that this person is in the top 32% of members of the Vanguard fund by their balance. They're sitting in that top 32% here. Very few, 0.6%, probably the exec managers at Vanguard. There's only 230 accounts that are in that space. 4,500 here. It's a smaller fund. We can see here that their age cohort, their age group has an average balance of 40K. So they're 124% up on that. Great work. You know, they've been contributing. We can see the female average versus the male average on there, and then their balance versus the female average, because I don't know if there's a balance versus prefer not to say. I can't remember if I coded that up. And then you get a bit of a fund overview. You get the projector just like you normally would as well. So here's your projection. So the orange line, best in class is expected to, by that age, get up to 3.9 million. The Vanguard one, you are expected to grow up to 500,000 for some reason. That's not great. But yeah, I know, right? Let's say that you wanted to get to 1 million at least. Extra need, target weekly income. So target lump sum. The target weekly income of $1 million, that's great. You'd be laughing. That would be really good. You'd need to apply, is that $1 million? I think it is. Is that 6 zeros? Yes. You'd need $17,000 extra per year, you know, that kind of thing. We can apply that to the slider to see how we get to that 1 million mark. So, you know, AI, Claude Code helped me do this, right? So the other thing that's interesting is and you get a fund score, not a fun score, arguably different things. But if they are in the My Super area, they would get, they barely pass, or they pass, right? So you get the My Super score here. But the what if, let's pick another fund. Let's say that, you know, we speak to this person and we're like, hey, we've got the power of data here. We want to help you out. What's another fund that we might choose? Have a look on screen and shout out a name.
Maybe AMP.
AMP.
Digital
Gotta love
asset.
their ads. AMG, no, AMP. So let's go to AMP. Okay. 1 year returns worse. 5 year returns better. For some reason, Vanguard doesn't have. Could be the data, by the way. It could be new. So let's actually pick something else for them. Let's go to. Let's say they're working at Telstra. Okay, now it's a bit different. Still, Telstra versus AMP. AMP is better on the returns front. It is same on the expense ratio, like how much do you get in terms of fees. Net 5 year return, so after fees, you're 7.8%, so it's better. So what we're going to see is that if they did switch, they would be better off by about $257,000. Assuming the same rate of returns and stuff like that. So these are the types of things that we can do. If we go back to home, you can look at the annual statistics where they've got various kind of performance, you know, what's doing good and bad, the different fund types and how they're going. You've also got some filters in the background here. So we can pick particular funds. Let's look at just AMP on its own. And you can see how well it's doing there. Similar concepts to what I had in ETF Tracker, but you can play around with this. Yoursupertracker.com.au. It's one of the cool things that we get to build in this Australian community for ourselves. So hopefully it inspires some cool stuff. If you want to talk about that, come see myself or Lydia after class. Thank you. All right, let's get Chris up here. Christopher. There we go. Come on up. Coming up on stage. You can be the guinea. I'll be the pig. Thanks, Lydia.
No worries.
Is that a cider?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, Lydia.
All right, final thing before we get to the most important thing, which is networking. Going back to the slideshow, yoursupertracker.com.au. Made with Manus, guys. Manus is really cool. You can download the PowerPoint. You can download to Google Slides, which is what this is. But let's get to. Oh, Lydia, we had something we were going to go through, but we'll do that in another session. We've done that one. Okay, cool. What's next? Okay, this is the final thing that I want to.
Exciting.
You know, we've been running Oz DeFi Association for a long time. Arturo and I started this back in late 2021 when we were like, oh, crypto sounds like fun. We should make an NFT after NBA Top Shots came out and stuff. And, you know,
I lost so much money on that app.
we made mistakes.
Thank you.
Lessons.
Do you make money?
Lessons were learned. But, you know, what's interesting is that we were always about decentralized finance. So, Lydia, are there people like, can you guys hear at the back okay? Yeah, okay, cool. Decentralized finance as in the technology, less so than the investment side of things. Can we just get them to... Tim? Yeah, sorry. But we're much more about the technology and the finance side of things, the future of finance. But we still get like a lot of folks that think because it's Oz DeFi that it is investments and stuff, and that's fine. Technology definitely supports that. But because we've been doing like a lot of blockchain and AI work, we're very close to changing the name. It's not official yet, but you'll hear it here first, to the Australian Blockchain and AI Network. And network because it's much more about the community. AI to be very explicit about this. And I appreciate my AI friends that have come along to this event, despite the name, who saw me, and Chris talking at like Claude Code and like the tech house kind of events. But what is next is, let's talk about two things. The old way was very talk-centric, and I know I'm talking now, but hopefully you've seen some cool demos and encourages you, if you're building something, and I heard from some of you, come up and show us. Arturo's going to show us, the stuff that he's building. Arturo's, the way that you code is being transformed because of these tools, right? You were already doing things by hand. You were an artisanal baker, coder / thing, but I'll never eat your baked goods because I think that they would be horrible. But conversations were dominated by price. They were. Communities were really much more on the crypto narrative or purely the AI tool focus, and that's fine. The new way is build-centric. The new way is content focused on how things are built, not just what's happening, and sitting at that intersection of AI and people showing up expecting to ship, learn, network. Early stage devs, we speak to a few of those. We've got the show. What's the show called, Chris?
Experts in the Loop.
Why?
One of my favorite little hobbies that we got. It's all about talking about the humans who are in the middle of these tools and experiences that we're seeing out there in the world. So people who are building businesses, working with AI, teaching other people how to work with AI. These are the people we talk with on the show to try and get the word out there and help you guys to understand what's going on.
You can see Experts in the Loop here on YouTube. These are some of the people that we've been speaking to. We show how we build with these tools. We're rebuilding the Experts in the Loop website on the Experts in the Loop show in some sort of like weird Inception AI type thing. Which is cool. Sorry, just they're Experts in the Loop. Some great guests. Who's one of your favorite guests, or notable guests that you remember?
Well, being in the product and UX space, like all the product people, I really love chatting with because it kind of hits home to the stuff I love to do. From like Michelle Gilmore with Hey Juno through to
right there.
Talking with my old mate here from Germany about the AI isn't replacing teams, and we got deep into Bastion, into product. Everyone that we've spoken with has had some really interesting things to talk about.
Annie from Build Club.
When we spoke about like all the philosophy behind AI, talking with Annie with Build Club, with what's his name, talking about video games. Like every single conversation has something unique to bring to the equation.
There was folks from a group called AI Candy or iCandy, right? They are existing producers that have evolved. But they say their workflow is still exactly the same. They still set scenes. They still do this. They still go through the exact same workflows, just that AI is part of their tool set. Same thing with financial, planners and stuff that are using AI or starting to use AI. It's the same things. You just get to do more with these tools. So
and that's the heart of the Experts in the Loop. Like we are still doing the same processes. We're just finding ways to automate and do things in a way that is faster, so we can move on and do other things. But we still need to check. We still need to balance, and we still need to, push things out.
And then, it's the operators, the people that are part of these teams that are building those internal systems, automations using blockchain. Maybe, it's maybe early for some people on that space. There's some people that have been really deep down working with trustees. The RBA's Project Acacia, which we just showed up there, Arturo is part of an internal working group on that. So if you want to know more, come see him. He's working on products in that space with Red Belly. It's the founders, it's the researchers as well, great people that are doing research and insights into this space. Now, something that's really, really important, and Chris and I, you've seen this, right? But like over the last couple of years, people have wanted to get politicians to know and understand this more, and we lobby, we go to them, we see them in office. Apart from being in Canberra, they're actually usually on Fridays because they do want to spend that 1 day a week back in their base, their home base. So you can probably book in meetings with them then, but you need to come to them with something tangible, reports, case studies, real life things, not just number go up. So
I think you've got something for this.
I do. Where is it? Here. Okay. So let's go back to the start here.
I'm going to step aside.
So the Australian Blockchain and AI Network is for what matters. We're building a whole heap in the space, and it is AI powered at the moment. You can tell because look at that. There's a M dash that I'll get rid of, but maybe I'll leave in because it is AI, right? We're proud. We're loud and proud with our M dashes. There are a few things we're going to have: networking events, a library, members, tools, transferring a whole heap of stuff over. Like if you're already on the existing Oz DeFi thing, you did the poll. Don't change. There's still you'll still be able to access things there. But we are going to move to this. One of these things is the case study. So Chris, on screen here, let's go to the AI side of things. What are some of these names here, and why do you think, why are they important to you?
Well, they're important to me because we've actually spoken to a few of these people. Build Club, massive. Obviously, I do a lot of work in the AI space, helping training. They're a global business now. With Annie Lau sitting right at the front.
You can click and read the source, where this came from, like the Build Club website. There's another one. Let's go back to the AI side of things here. And this is not released yet, but it is coming. Pick one of these ones, Chris. Which one?
I like down the bottom. There was, it's just changed. We've got a different set of data coming up.
This is AI.
You had Resolute there before, but now they're gone.
Resolute?
You know what I'm talking about.
No.
Let's do Harrison AI.
Okay.
Their relevance, that's what I meant. Sorry.
I think you said Resolute, Chris.
I did. Fucking hell.
Chris is hallucinating, folks. So there we go.
Daily.
Why relevance? What's relevant?
What is relevance? I mean, we all know what relevance are. They're one of the biggest AI companies started here in Australia. I love what they do. Tell me what's going on screen.
N8N and Zapier, those workflow type tools, these guys pioneered a lot of that. So they're just like connecting the dots, building workflows very early in the space. Arturo and I saw Jackie when they were just sitting out of the ACS, Australian Computer Society, as a very small company. And they've done so well, and they host a whole lot of events at their space in Surrey Hills. So Relevance AI, and again, there'll be a source of this. One that I want to highlight just back on the AI side before we go to blockchain, and we built this because of the blockchain side. There's a lot of great ones about AI out there, but I want to tell the Aussie story, right? Paul and Rosie, this one's interesting. It's not a company name yet, but Paul Cunningham, he was the former president of the Data Science and AI Association that Arturo and I became presidents of later on and took over during COVID. So what a great time to take over when no one could go to events. We did a hackathon with the Department of Defense before, pre-drones were really a thing, although that would have been fun to work on. But his dog had cancer, Rosie had cancer, and he used OpenAI plus a few others. Elon even tweeted him out. The founders of OpenAI tweeted him out. Nasib Taleb or something from Google DeepMind, not Taleb, whoever the DeepMind guy is, he tweeted it out as well. But basically used all of this to help sequence better ways to get the results of DNA in partnership with UNSW, and was able to shrink the cancer, and now he's using all of that fame and notoriety to help do more for dogs, right? This is real good stuff that's being done in the AI space. Let's go to blockchain and a couple of great stories. This is the only ones that we put up for now, but there's definitely more. Project Acacia, Arturo over there. There's a guy that we had on the show a little while ago, Origins Next, Laszlo, and you can see in the back episodes. Out of KPMG, spun this out. They do tracking and tracing on blockchain. It's a big problem. They're doing stuff tracking coral growth and, in Queensland, with Queensland government, using blockchain because it can't be tampered with. It's immutable. This is a great use of the tool, and they're doing a whole lot of stuff in the EU because when you ship goods between ports, you have to track what is going on at each and every kind of stop and venture. So he's built a platform for that. And then one more on the blockchain side of things is the stablecoins. Block Earner, they had their event. On the stablecoin side of things, we've got a whole heap of stuff that's going on there. We've got AUDD, AUDM. I believe we've got someone from Macropod Jelly C here. Where are you, Jelly C guy? Okay, gone. But that's okay. There is a whole heap of good stuff happening here in the space. But Chris, going back to it, Australian Blockchain and AI Network, what are your thoughts?
I'm super excited to get this out because just like you've showcased, it opens up the door for a much more interesting and up-to-date conversation that's happening right now in the market. That intersection between the two is super important. We already had a couple of people talking today about that intersection. I've been meeting up with a few people building solutions in both of those spaces, blockchain and AI. I'm really excited to open these doors. I think it's going to change everything that you're seeing here today, both the network and the community alike, in terms of what the platform is going to offer as well. We really want to connect more with everyone here, both in this scenario now and also between events. And this is going to be that first step towards that sort of motion.
And that is it, folks. There's a lot of great networking that happens after hours with all of this. It'll be not April 2025, hallucination. It'll be the last Wednesday of April. I will put out on the Luma if you signed up to that. Please do tell your friends so we get more people coming to these events. Definitely bigger numbers normally when it's not so split up, but we are going to work around so you can go to all the other events as well. Thank you for choosing us. I'm going to throw the hackathon slide back up there so that you can go back to that and basically go build with it, right? Because there's real money there. $500 does go a long way, especially in the petrol prices of today. So thank you so much for your time. We'll see you in the networking.
Thanks, everyone.